Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm good. You?
Not too bad, not too bad. How's your day going?
Busy.
Busy? As usual, I can imagine, being a caster and all.
Yeah, like that doesn't even for me at the moment.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get right into this. But first, the question that everyone's waiting for, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Is this Rocket League?
Oh fuck! I'm leaving.
No, but Rocket League, the game. How'd you get into it? Where did it start? Who showed you? Did you kind of just stumble upon it?
No, I was a battle cosplayer.
Okay.
And at the time it was basically a case of play whatever games you can because you ain't got no money to really buy whatever you can really want to buy. So I used to play. I got hold of the demo, and I thought it was pretty good fun. So I decided to invest fully into that game. But I used to play Battle Cars itself on a I'll be generous. I'll say 12-inch screen that used to be used to sort of hold a monitor in the back of a car. So like, if you're in the back seat, you could put it up on the seats in front of you.
Oh wow!
And, like just hold itself there. So it was an awful monitor. And that's what I played on for the longest time.
That sounds quite interesting for sure.
It was awful, but I got into battle cars. I was part of that community for the longest time. Sort of one of the ones that was not necessarily a top player, but I was on that tier just below. You know, I was someone that you could at least solidly get to a quarterfinal run and then probably drop out to someone that's actually good at something.
Okay, so you've been playing Rocket League and SARP for a while then.
Oh yeah.
So did you, with casting, was your first gig with Rocket League or SARP, or was it something entirely different?
For that sort of stuff, I did because I was interested in it a little bit, especially as esports was a new thing. It's like, okay, well, I'm never gonna be a player here, but one of the things I was more interested in was the entertainment side of it all. So I had a couple of goes at casting and whatnot, sort of jokingly. You know, when people are sort of nervous to get things started and
Oh yeah.
you sort of throw away the opportunity by just making too much fun of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I did that for my first couple of casts. I did a couple of like 1v1 League of Legends casts that were awful. If you ever get a chance and if you really think that where you start with anything, or if you think talent is involved in anything that you actually start with, no. Go and watch those. They are absolutely atrocious. But I sort of hold that as a point of pride.
Oh man.
This is how bad it was, and this is where we've got to.
That's always good to look at. They're like, started from the bottom, now we're here, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It was it was rough. Let's just put it like that. It was a rough first few casts. The main thing was like you go in and listen to it, and you're just like, it's not really even the same guy, because you need to learn how to use your voice and everything else.
Exactly.
And at the time of doing it, I didn't know how to use my voice at all, so it's literally just trying things out. Most of it sounds awful, but you look for the one or two things that works well.
So with esports in general, the scene's getting bigger, much bigger than it was way back when I first started gaming. Was casting a thing you saw yourself doing and like wanted to pursue in esports, or was it more of the competitive side that dragged you in at first?
So I was more interested in the show itself.
Okay.
At the time, it was I actually, like I said, we didn't really have too. I got my consoles by just trading in my old console and everything I had with it, and hoping to get enough money that I could spend about 30 quid or so to get the newest gen. So a lot of my time was actually spent sat downstairs watching my dad play on his Xbox. So I was always sort of interested in not necessarily the playing part, but observing, creating something outside of that. That's the reason why on the battle cars I was always creating tournaments, because the playing part was fun, but you could play anywhere. It's actually putting something together that turned into something a little bit bigger than that. So I always thought that was quite fun. But as for the esports side, I think the very first esports event I watched properly was... There were two events stick out to me. I can't remember which one was first, but Season 2 of the League of Legends World Championship Finals. I remember watching that one, and the other one is a fighting game tournament called Evolution.
Evolution, is that gosh, why? I feel like I've seen that.
It's the one they hold once a year in Las Vegas, and it is massive. It's like 5,000 people per tournament. Whittle it all down to just getting one winner.
That's absolutely insane. I'll have to check that out. That sounds so familiar to me. When you watched your dad play, did you ever like sort of cast his gameplay, I guess, when you were younger?
No, casting didn't come into it until I was much later on. More backseat gaming.
Oh man, gotta love those backseat gamers.
Oh, now that I'm a Twitch streamer, trust me, you get to know all about it. I'll apologize to my dad next time I see him. 'Cause, it's bad.
So with being as good of a caster as you are, what kind of opportunities did you have before becoming an RLCS caster?
So back in the day, when I originally came over to Rocket League, because I was part of that crop of Battlecast players that was sort of ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
Purely because, well, we'd had years more experience than everybody. But I didn't have any intention of taking the game overly serious because it just didn't really sit with me as something I'd want to do. So instead, I looked towards the entertainment side. I looked towards streaming, which I couldn't do because my computer was awful. YouTube as well, sort of the same issue. But once they got... one thing you could do, though, is commentate. With those technical issues, because I didn't need to run the stream. All I had to do was be there for the stream, and I could just commentate over Skype or something like that. What I did is, I believe Cloudfuel put a competition up at the time looking for some new RLC casters, and all it was just upload a video to YouTube of you commentating, and then he'd like pick a quote-unquote winner who would join RLC for Rocket Royale and a couple of other projects. And I sent mine in, and he decided to pick me up. So I thought, okay, cool. So just kept commentating on RLC, Gfinity stuff, and building a profile there.
So after going through like all the little RLC, Rocket Royale, like the smaller orgs of Rocket League, what was it like when Psyonix approached you about being a big-time caster for RLCS?
Oh, this is actually my favorite story, like ever, because obviously, as I've mentioned a few times, we were not the most financially perfect situation. It was not necessarily a situation of not eating. It was more of a case of we're doing fine at the moment, but at the time I wasn't working, but I was also doing my university degree. So I was just sort of chugging along with student finance, but just because I was in my last year, and once you get to that point, I couldn't afford to spend the time at the end of the student year going looking for a job without any money coming in, because there's only a last payment point for student finance was about March. So we said, okay, if this online stuff does not work, me and my mum spoke about this, if this online stuff does not work by March, you will go and get a job because we just need to go and get that sorted. This conversation happened in the middle of October, so I had about 5 months, maybe 6. 1 week later, just before upcasting a Gfinity tournament, Cloudfuel pulls me aside because at the time Twitch was controlling and coordinating the RLCS, and he says, next week I'm going to put you in contact with Golden Boy, who was the head talent guy at the time. And we're going to speak about getting you over for the your first season of RLCS, which was the end of season 2. That's the conversation that we had. Now, the good thing was, is this was literally a week after me and my mum had sort of struck that sort of compromise deal. It was nice just to walk down and just go, yo, we did it. Give me a week. I'll sort it out.
So in terms of casting, I feel like not everyone can do it, but I also feel like it could be harder than most people would think it is. So from your perspective, would you say that it's hard to cast, or does it just kind of come naturally to you?
So it's the same with everyone. Everything you can ever do is hard when you start with it. You know, no one learns how to play Rocket League. I mean, a great example. No one starts off good at Rocket League. Yeah, the skill curve, once you actually hit it and start to realize what you need to focus on, can be quite easily followed to get yourself up to a very decent level. So when I started, I realized, okay, I think I've got a decent voice for this. But I needed to sort of sort it out in terms of how I used it. But it is difficult to cast, especially when you are getting started. When you get a little bit more used to it, It's not quite as difficult, but especially depending on your role as well. Your role really makes a huge difference on not necessarily the difficulty, but what you have to focus on to improve.
So you're talking just play-by-play?
Play-by-play and color are very different in terms of what they require from you. Because as a play-by-play, you've got all the talking time in the world. And you've got to figure out how to fill that talking time up with as much relevant information as possible, because it's very easy to start to mumble and not talk about anything that anybody really cares about.
Yeah.
You've got to keep talking anyway. So, you're talking for the next minute or so. People are going to probably hate everything you say unless you really think about what you're going to do. So you have to think about flow. You have to think about adding pauses, taking your time, sort of figuring out when the best opportunity is to try and hand off to the color, as well as figuring out what's happening on the pitch and building up towards it. I would say probably my best skill as a play-by-play is recognizing when something's going to happen, because I get a lot of B-roll, and B-roll is everything they show you for the highlight videos, for the hype vids, all of that sort of stuff where it's literally a sentence that you have that they put in there. I'm very good for that stuff because I can recognize a play very early and figure out what is going to happen and how I want to go about saying things.
So basically you see what's happening and you sort of just start to hype it up, and if they actually execute it properly, then you have that hype going into the play-by-play casting.
Yes. Yeah, so it's not going to be a case of me talking normally and talking, oh, there's a goal. It's more of a case of, okay, talking on, then they're going to be starting to get a bit closer. Now I'm really starting to hype it up a little bit. And oh my goodness, there it is, the finish. Now for color, their life is difficult, but in a different way. Because whilst as a play-by-play, you're talking all the time, the color has got very little they can say. They got very little airtime in terms of how much they're going to talk. Because they're designed to come in, add a little bit of interest to the game, and then get back out. If the game's dead or if nothing's happening, obviously they'll talk a little bit more. But let's just say an overtime is happening in the biggest game, and there's 3 minutes of like really good action happening. Play-by-play can't talk for that long. Everyone's gonna start phasing them out. So after a little while, the play-by-play after 40 seconds might just go and then just drop it off. Color then has got maybe 2 sentences to get everybody interested in the game again. And they've got to do it literally within those 2 sentences. So you've got to be very concise as a color, and you've got to know what you're about to say. So you get a lot of time to prep for what you're going to say, but it has to be good.
In a situation like that, as color, are you looking just to like sort of break down what each team is doing, or like what one team is doing better than the other? Or is you're kind of looking to gain interest back from the audience?
So color's entire job is just to literally, so you got to imagine play-by-play is drawing the picture, color is literally coloring it in, giving it a bit of spark. Mm-hmm. So we could get in there and I could be talking forever. I just drop it off because I can't talk any longer without it just being monotonous. At which point someone could turn around and just go, okay, well, there's been a couple of times off the backboard that they've looked a little bit shaky here. Keep an eye on that as a potential worry zone. Because as soon as you say that to somebody, the viewer goes, wait, has it? And then every single time the ball goes off the backboard, they go, because the color guy has told them that that's a worry.
So you sort of tell them what to look for.
You're telling them what to look for. You're telling them nice little stats that it's that guy who is a smart ass in terms of, hey, here's the cool little thing. Here's the backboard that's been a worry. This team has never lost in an overtime that has lasted over 2 minutes. This team hasn't lost an overtime this season. As soon as that happens, that adds a little bit of stake to the game, because if they lose, everyone just goes, oh, geez, this team actually lost their first overtime. They've, gone 6-0 at this point? That's interesting. That might swing this entire series the opposite direction. It's entirely up to color to get some interest in the game.
Gotcha. So it's more of it's like one of those things like, you're now aware that you're breathing. And then it just kind of bugs you, and you're just paying attention to it like, God, what? This is annoying.
Not even that. If there's nothing good to say, but play-by-play needs a quick break, it could just be a quick joke. I think Carpet's very good for that stuff. He just You hand it off to him. He has 2 sentences where he makes people just go, eh. And then I come back in and pour over it again.
So for events in general, I'm not going to ask how casters in general prepare because I'm assuming you wouldn't know because you're not every single caster. But for you personally, how do you prepare for an event that you're going to be casting?
So it depends, firstly, on the type of event I'm casting. If it's a league, then it's very easy to plot down which teams I'm working with. The RLCS is a great example of this. Like, I've got 16 teams per season. I know exactly who they are. And I can just follow through and sort of get the knowledge I need of each individual team. But if it's a big tournament, if it's an open tournament, like your online tournaments, like a DreamHack, you sort of just go, okay, I'm going to have a base knowledge of this team, and I'll just wing it after that. Because Universe Open was a perfect example of this. 32 teams per week over 5 weeks with maybe 3 days to prepare. I ain't getting 32 bits of information for all of these different teams, considering I'm not going to cast most of them. And for that sort of tournament, I don't know who any of these guys are. There's nothing here that would be relevant. So in that situation, I would then pick the most likely teams that I'm going to see and get information on them. But the average time it would take to set everything up also depends on how quickly I know what I'm casting. Because if the producer doesn't get that info to me until like the Friday and the show's on Saturday, well, I'm buggered because cool. I don't have information on 16 teams that is really all in that depth. Just not possible.
Yeah.
But if you give me my 4 teams that I'm casting this weekend, and you give me 2 or 3 days to sort it out, I can get you plenty on that. That doesn't take like any specific amount of time. That's just done when it's done.
Yeah. So basically, if there's a bunch of teams, you'll kind of try and guess the bracket to look which teams you'll probably be casting, and then get a base knowledge of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things like DreamHack, especially because we're in Germany for January for DreamHack, and that was a nice fun one because that was all European bubble teams coming in, and obviously some of the North American guys, they're not familiar with European bubble teams. I'm not all that familiar with North American bubble teams, so it was very nice just to be sat here and just go, oh, this guy's done this, and this guy, yeah, he's good at that. For a lot of players, that people just go, yeah, I'd never heard of him. He's not done anything.
With preparing, how much time would you say, like off screen, you spend preparing, do you think?
For an RLCS broadcast, I would say it's probably about an hour and a half per game.
Per game, wow.
For a proper... I've actually released, I believe, previously, I'll see if I can send this over to you quickly, because I can show you one of the prep sheets I did. Because, I mean, it really does depend. It's been in different forms, my way of prepping. Last season, my way of prepping was very different to how it was previous seasons. Because me and Wavepunk added a lot more VOD review to what we were doing.
Would you say that helped you a ton? Or just, like, another perspective?
It was nice to pick things, because you could then go through... Yeah, I think I've got it now. Yeah, here we go. I'll see if I can get to this you very quickly, but I'll keep talking in the meantime. It was very nice in terms of me being able to go through stats, just going, okay, here's the things I want to look for. And then going into the VOD and just either confirming or denying what I thought was happening. So a good example of it was I thought Lichinio at the time was using a lot of boost without really making much with it. Because I was seeing an awful lot of boost used. He was using by far the most on his team, but he also had a very large percentage of his time spent at 0 to 25 boost. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't really make too much sense to me. So let's go into the VOD. Let's see what exactly he is doing with this. And at that point, once you see those sort of problems, you can then see more problems, or maybe some good things that they're getting from it. and it helps out a ton. A lot of it you will never bring up on broadcast, but it does help you a ton in regards to figuring out what the team is good and is not good at. I'll just send you this now. I don't know. This is EG versus
wow.
Cloud9, Season 4. No, Season 5.
So this is just
what gets taken through. This is just all the information that I had boiled down to what is relevant. What can I bring up in a broadcast?
wow.
Because if I just throw all of it in there, none of it is interesting at all. I have to literally pick points of just, okay, this is what this is good for. This is what is interesting to a viewer.
That is.
See that I also include what I say at the beginning of the series and what I do when I throw it to break. Because I suck at making that up on the fly. So let's just write it down.
I feel like I'd be pretty bad at that too. That's great. That is like, wow. That's a lot of notes. That's a lot of solid notes. And that's just one series?
Yeah, that would be produced for each series I cast. If a team is playing twice in a day, then it might even be started to get jotted down whilst the broadcast is on. Because... Or I would just say, for whenever I bring up these notes, just at the start of this week, Cloud9 had a really good defense, a really good offense.
That's awesome to see. I always see you guys like either on your tablets or like in your notebook, like writing stuff down. I'm just like, I wonder like how much they're writing down, if they're just writing like words that they branch off over. But that's awesome.
I don't like to write whilst I'm actually casting. I do all of this before I cast. I don't like to write anything down whilst I cast.
Oh, so this is all beforehand.
Yeah, because I feel like, and this is all personal preference. There's people that like to write a lot.
Yeah.
But I like to believe that I can get into the players' heads a little bit more than the normal caster. So considering we do a lot of casting from player view, I can sit there and just go, you know how a plat or anyone watching a stream feels like they know how things should have worked out because you don't have that. When you're in game, it's harder to do.
Yeah, it makes
The
sense.
same thing when you're casting. It's just like, okay, I'm sat here just going, I've seen this player over and over again miss this same move. I'll commit that to memory rather than writing that down, because writing it down, I don't think, for me at the very least, I ever actually remember it if I write it down.
I feel like if you'd go to write it down, you could sort of lose track of the game as well.
Yeah, it's happened to a few of my colleagues.
So casting with, you don't always cast with the same partner, obviously. So how do you change your mindset or just the way you talk or flow to your different partners that you cast with?
Sort of like getting a feel for what each other are comfortable with. I think very good examples are actually the EU casting style versus the NA casting style, because NA is very set on play-by-play and color. It's like, these are the two things. Play-by-play is going to talk 85% of the time. Color is going to talk 15% of the time. And I actually have no problem with that, because I feel like I'm comfortable doing that. But I've always struggled whenever I work on RLCS and then I go home and then I work on the Gfinity Elite series with all my UK lot. And you go from that to a 60-40 split with the sort of the roles diluted a little bit. I'm just like, oh god, this is so much different. I still enjoy it. It's sort of more conversational. So it literally feels like two lads sort of watching the game and just giving you their take on it. And I've always enjoyed that quite a bit.
It seems it's more, I feel like as a viewer, it's more just casual and you can get more comfortable with the whole situation in the game.
You feel like you could probably grab a beer and just sort of, you want to sit with these guys.
Just pull up a chair, like,
and just talk some Rocket League.
Seeing that, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just a different style that people enjoy. It'd be interesting to see, like, I don't think they would bring that style to RLCS just because of the high level and the professionalism of it, but it would be a change for sure.
I mean, more specifically to your point, I would say I'm casting with someone who I know has probably got less in-game knowledge. I would go more hybrid myself.
Okay.
Try and use that color commentator as more of a personality that's with me, in terms of, okay, well, you know, you're here, people really enjoy you as a person. Let's try and get you as a person out a little bit more often, because as you've already mentioned to me, you don't know quite as much about the game. So if we keep trying to ask you questions about the game, it's not going to be your best performance. We need to play to each other's strengths.
So you'd throw more entertainment towards them instead
yeah.
of information. Okay.
But if I'm working with, and this is the way I could see a lot of this going in the future, let's say a retired pro is sat next to me. At which point I will back off a lot of my analysis, go pretty much stoic play-by-play, and just let that guy do it. Because even if me and him say the same thing, it means more from him. Even if I was to like do it, to a lot of viewers, it could just come across as, wow, Shogun's really just trying to come across like he knows what he's talking about.
Oh.
Like it sort of feels tryhardy. It's like he's trying to impress the guy next to it. Like you don't need that. Just let them do what they do.
All right. What else we got here for you? Okay. So the visa. How are you staying on top of that?
I'm not. I have effectively no control over how that goes.
Okay.
It's a conversation for different people. Effectively, I could turn around in a month and find out I've got a visa, or I could turn around in whenever, like a week before RLCS starts again, and just find out, okay, well, I'm not coming to this one either.
Oh, that's got to be nerve-wracking.
It's frustrating. I'm not someone that likes to be out of control over my stuff. So to have literally the biggest thing going for me right now be out of my control is annoying, to say the least.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. Well, be done with that.
Yeah.
But
I got nothing else I can give to people because I don't know anything else. I don't know the conversations that happen. And even if I did know the conversations that happen, it's all legal stuff.
all legal, boring stuff.
Yeah.
But so RLCS in general, broadcasts, everything they're doing, if you could change one thing about it, what would it be?
I'd want to get the players' personalities involved more. I think that's what I enjoy most about the Gfinity Elite series is just the players have got so used to being on camera at this point that they're actually really natural. Before, I think the best example I have of this is before the very first game of the season, it was Excel versus, I actually can't remember. I'm going to say Nordavind, because why not? But they had like close-up shots on each of the individual players. Every single time a player knew the camera was on them, they were just looking at the camera really subtly and giving like the death stare.
Oh man, that's great.
And that was really good fun. If we could get any way of getting more player personality, because right now it feels to me like we're rooting for the car rather than for the person. You know, for a lot of people that sort of don't think about it as much, and I said to them, you know, Cook's here. Some people would think of the lovely Italian man that he is, and a lot of people would think Batmobile.
100%. That's literally all I think about.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right to me that is the way people would think about Cook's here.
Just like throw more of the actual player and not.
Yes, I'd want, and this comes towards my argument of I don't like the point blank. Oh, I like EU. Oh, I like NA. It's like I could understand going for your region afterwards, but I would like people's primary to be a team.
Okay.
Like, I want this team to win because I like this about them. They've done this. I've been able to see, you know, some vlog stuff of theirs of just like how hard they've been working to get to this moment.
Actually, like break it down and not just be so broad with it. Okay.
Yeah. So you could think of these players actually as they are, as the people that they are. That's the one thing that's missing from the scene at the moment is just the human side of the players.
You've obviously, so you've done League of Legends casting, but that was a while ago, correct?
That was a while ago, and that was for my own YouTube for about 3 viewers.
Okay. Okay. So have you thought of, I don't want to like get you in trouble or anything, but are there other games that you'd like to cast in the future or like branch out from Rocket League?
I've heard pitches from some companies. I think when it comes to my commentary, sort of like the passion I can sell to people is one of the bigger and better parts I'd give to my commentary. And if I'm not feeling that for a game, it's gonna come across. I can't fake that. If I was just to go over to another game, you would know a while back. It wouldn't be sort of, okay, Shogun just switched on us. It'll be a case of, okay, Shogun's been really liking this game for like the last 3 months. He might switch, but there's nothing that's done that just yet.
So you're just looking to be like in it 100%, not for the money or the opportunity, just like it's my passion. I want to do it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind the money as well.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
I think it'd be a case of both game and what the project is. You know, the game could be really good, but if the project end game is just casting online, you know, that's not going to be quite good because there's no live casting is by far the most fun thing ever. So, if there was a really good game, and they could just go, okay, we're going to do like these really big, extravagant live events, then you've got me.
But out of all, so you've casted tons of tourneys. What would you say your favorite one is?
I'll give it a 2. Well, I'll give a second place, and I'll give you an actual first because I don't like non-answers. Second place will probably go to the best actual tournament in terms of gameplay that I've casted, which will go to DreamHack in January, DreamHack Germany. That was open tournament. We had a bunch of NA teams over. We had pretty much every single relevant EU team involved, and it was just fantastic. It was like 32 really, really good teams. It felt like a proper killer tournament.
That's awesome.
Not necessarily a case of invitation. It was just everybody that was anyone turning up and looking to fight for this one tournament.
That's
it felt like one of those old school Gfinities, but being done live. Plus G2 versus PSG finals going to Game 7. But in terms of the event that I will never replace, it's London. Easily London. That was just the best tournament in terms of how much I enjoyed it, with literally everybody that I sort of knew from the UK scene. It felt surreal because whenever I go over to the US, it's sort of like a completely different life because it's so far away. I live, you know, near the countryside in England, and then you go over to LA where it's this weird, bustling, 18 million population.
Oh yeah, just completely different.
Hot as hell, barely ever rains. It's like so different that it doesn't feel like the two lives are the same. It's just 2 months over there, you do that, and then you come back to your real life for a little while. But to have those two converge was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic, and I wouldn't trade that one for the world. I would say I'd want to do it again, and I will want to do it again, but it won't replace that one. I think the one that made that even more perfect is that was the first event that my parents actually got to be able to come down to see live. So it was just sort of sat there just going, hey guys, I did it. That was a fantastic weekend.
So in terms of passions and hobbies, like I guess just outside of casting and Rocket League, what else do you do for fun?
I'm the sort of person that I've discovered recently, especially after the visa stuff happened, because once the visa stuff happened, you're just like, okay, I have this 2-month hole where, you know, there was something planned and now there's nothing. I've sort of found out during those 2 months that I can't not work on stuff. I was sat just going, okay, what am I going to do? There's no events going on. So I took up streaming. I commissioned Rajuice for the most extravagant bloody graphics pack when it comes to Rocket League Twitch. It's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
And that's pretty much been my way of filling in that gap. It's probably unhealthy, the fact that everything I do is sort of revolving around this room and this computer and always sort of being here. I sort of recognized that about a month ago because I was just like, oh god, for the last three months I would wake up, I would go to the computer, I would work, I would stream, and then I'd go to bed in the same room. Like, this probably isn't healthy. So I've also added going to the gym as well, because
there you go.
When I get back to the RLCS, I want to look like a golden god.
Oh man, that's great. Hey, but good on you, man. That's awesome. What are your thoughts on RLCS coming, or I guess going to Australia?
It'll be fun. I don't know the logistical side of it. I think everyone sort of knows the main counterpoints to it, which is starting time would be pretty rough. Whether or not you'd be able to sell enough tickets to get everybody over there.
That's
but
true.
in terms of what I'd enjoy it. Just whether or not the people above me think it would be the right business decision.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be very tough to financially just back that in terms of viewership
and an end goal.
Exactly.
That being said, OCE has done a fantastic. I mean, there was a reason why they were the first non-EU NA region to be brought in, because they were the ones doing the most to kickstart their own region into actually having stuff going on. So OCE, if it was to be done outside of EU or NA, I can imagine it being OCE.
When they announced that they were bringing OCE into RLCS, I was like, okay. Haven't really seen anything from them, but we'll see how this goes. And then Alpha Sydney comes in, and they did way better than I feel like a lot of people expected them to do.
Them coming in really threw us off because we didn't know how to compare them. You watch it and you're just like, okay, what's the main things? I mean, this was season 3. This is where Northern Gaming went to take the whole thing just by absolutely bombarding their opponents in the backboard. When I look to seasons, I just go, okay, season 3, that was the backboard season. Wasn't the
backboard season,
but everyone was just trying to throw off the backboard and follow it up. And then season 4 was sort of the more infield passing season, and how to counter that. That literally was like first half of the season, Cloud9 doing a lot of infield passes. Second half of the season, teams figuring it out. Method really took it apart. OCE was difficult because you look at it and you're just going, okay, there's a lot of backboard stuff being used at the moment. Are they defending the backboard? No. No, they are not.
Oh, man.
I think it was easy for Sydney to get lumped in with the rest of OCE because they were the anomaly. They were the ones that actually could play, but you see teams beating another team that can't really even clear off the backboard. You just go, okay, well, you've ticked off the checklist, but you've ticked off the checklist of an EU, not even bubble team at this point. They didn't test themselves against anything better than that, so them coming over, it was just like, okay, well, we'll take the safe bet here, bet against them. And they ended up proving a lot of people wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Now that they're playing against a lot more international talent, they can be more reasonably analyzed and judged.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to actually compare them, because the first season they came in, they didn't have the really good EU teams to scrim against, or the really good NA teams, or any of the bubble teams from those regions either. So we had no idea how good they were going to be. But they've come a long way for sure.
It wasn't made any easier by the fact that backstage, them and Jam Gaming were both doing awful in scrims. So you're looking at just going, okay, well, we can make the conclusion on this one. And then suddenly they get on stage and they actually played pretty decently. I think, they did get a win that season because James got the pie in the face.
That's right. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
So they caught a lot of people off, and they just seem to be getting better.
I think that's it in terms of questions. Does anyone in chat have any questions for Shogun before I let him go? Man, it's awesome, dude, to hear your whole come up story. Okay, I got 6 months, and look where you are now, dude. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I've always liked that one, just purely because it's not a case of, oh, we don't agree with this being a thing, or, you can't make any money over that. It was more of a case of, we need money coming in, we'll let you take your chance on yourself, but we got to put a time limit on this. Otherwise, I can understand, because you get a lot of people that just go, oh, no, I'll make it within the next year. Oh, no, I didn't make it this year. I'll make it next year. So,
just one more year, I promise.
Yeah.
Year after year after year. All right, I'm not seeing anything come up in the chat. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to
thank you very much, Austo.
Sit down and talk with me. It's been an honor, honestly, and I cannot wait for next season. I hope everything with the visa goes through. I don't want to watch RLCS if you're not casting. But thank you so much, man, and I hope you have a wonderful Is it wonderful night? Is it night over there?
Oh, it's midnight. I'm
Oh
dead.
gosh, I will let you get going then, man.
Thank you very much for having me, dude.
No problem. Have a fantastic night, dude.
Night.